I have my good days and then I have some bad days, but on most days, there are practices and things that I do to stay connected to my highest self and to God as much as I can. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Connection Hub. My name is Vanessa and I am here to connect you with your highest good, your highest self, and your highest source. Coming up, I am going to be talking about the best practices I could think of right now that keep me on track. If you like content like this, and if you want to actually go over to my video feed to check out other videos I've done in the past, feel free to do so. That would be so lovely. And go ahead and subscribe, like, and maybe even share this video or another one that you have found helpful with someone you love. Let's go ahead and get into the first practice. Caring for my space. This topic really encompasses everything and anything physical that I own. So my living space, my body, my clothes, my belongings. I remember sitting with a therapist several years ago, and one of the questions she asked me was, do you make your bed in the mornings? I gave her an honest answer and I said, no, I don't make my bed. And her piece of advice was make your bed in the morning, because as you make your bed in the morning, what you're doing is you're giving thanks to the bed for holding you up through the night. And she made it into a very ritualistic practice that I can hold on to. From making my bed, it naturally evolved into caring for the rest of my space. If you know me, you know I am a huge fan of decluttering. Decluttering has 100% changed my life. And not only because I have less things to sort through and organize, but it's because I actually feel lighter as a whole. Like my being allows me to be a little bit more productive on my productive days. And I find that my intuition has really heightened because of this practice, making sure that clean things are going on my body, if that's lotions or if it's even clothing. I always make sure that my laundry no longer just sits in a dirty hump, but it actually gets tended to throughout the week. Cleansing the physical temple, it's my way of giving thanks for a healthy body in this human experience. No gossiping. This is a really big one. You know, not always did I live by this rule. I mean, we live and we learn. This is how we get through life as people. For years, I used to gossip. I don't even know if I knew I was gossiping. I just knew that I was overly sharing opinions and probably, I don't know, saying whatever about people to someone, or even just engaging and entertaining the conversation that other people were having around me. A few years ago, I put a plug in it and I said, that's it. I don't want gossiping in my repertoire of habits. And so I stopped. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Someone saying something kind of crappy about me behind my back, as opposed to approaching me and asking questions and having an emotionally intelligent conversation about things, I think to myself, well, if I don't want people talking about me behind my back, I can't actually talk about others behind their back. Because when I was learning this, I was also learning that whatever we put out, we're also going to receive. Not gossiping about people is non-negotiable. There are three sides to every story. There's that person's side, the person's side that they're talking about, and then of course God's side. Gossip can sometimes be a very tantalizing idea. Someone has something to say about someone else. It's like, oh, spill the tea. Talking with people can go in a million and one different ways. How can you tell if a piece of conversation is gossip, or if a piece of conversation is just trying to talk about a situation or looking for some advice or looking for some support? I do my absolute best not to get involved, because half of the time it's not my place. I don't know. I'm not an all-seer of all things. Only God knows. Taking time to reflect. I have a couple of goals in life. One of them is to meet life with as much compassion as possible. And the other is to stay as true and authentic to myself at all times. In today's day and age, that could pose as a little bit of a challenge if I'm not taking time to reflect and make sure that whatever is happening in my life feels good, feels true, feels honest, feels right for me. It has taken me a lot of years to get to this point, decades, a lifetime, I'm sure many lifetimes actually, where I want to celebrate my uniqueness. And I can't do that if I'm trying to follow what everyone else is doing. In my current journey right now, really coming forward on YouTube and coming forward on other platforms like TikTok, I keep coming back to myself and asking, how can I show up in my unique way, in my own way? And I heard someone speaking last week, and they were talking about approaching things without knowing how that thing works is in best practice. That's because when we approach life in this way, when we reflect and we ask, okay, what's my next move? What is it that I need to do? And where is it that I need to go? In that reflection, we come up with the most authentic answers for our path in that time. And without following what anyone else is doing or any other trends out there, I think that this is such a great way to stay true to my own individual path as it is, as it should be. Oracle cards. Reading my cards has been such a fantastic opportunity for me to really build this relationship that I have with the angels and ascended masters and guides and my loved ones and ancestors in spirit. I really lean on them and turn to them first and foremost to just kind of ask for their presence, ask for their loving light and their loving guidance and support in whatever questions I have before I start shuffling and laying cards out in front of me. Dedicate time with God. If I know God to be my creator and the creator of everything that I see, I hear, I experience, I mean, it's no question for me. It's my duty, it's my honor, it's my blessing to take time out every single day and just give thanks. Having a chat, asking some questions, and just letting God know that I want his love, his wisdom, his mercy, his everything to lead and run my life. If I want to show up in good faith and with compassion and with love, God is in charge, and it's in my heart to just sit with God. Find balance. Anytime I have been out of balance and placing way too much focus or attention on only one aspect of myself, I will most likely burn out and 100% not feel as optimal as I could. On some of my off days, at the end of the day, when I'm recapping, okay, what was it that I did today? But more importantly, what was it that I didn't do today that I definitely could have used? I'll make sure that I incorporate that into my day the next day. I really do like to approach life in this mind, body, heart, and soul equation as often as possible. What have I done for my body today? What have I done for my mind? What have I done for my soul? And what have I done for my heart? Whatever that is, something that brings me joy, something that breaks a sweat, something like meditation or prayer for my soul, body, heart, soul, and something to keep my mind active. Hands-on healing. For myself, I like to do energetic healing or hands-on healing mostly before I go to bed. I'll either have a hand on the top of my crown or fingers right on my third eye when I'm really mentally stimulated throughout the day. If I'm doing a lot of learning or if I'm reading for clients, sometimes I just need some added extra release of pressure or tension in my crown and third eye space. The next area is one hand on my chest and one hand on my stomach. And this is just very soothing. And then the third placement is just taking my hands and putting them right on my hips. I'm going to stand up and show you. Just like that. As I'm doing this, as I'm placing my hands wherever it is that they feel drawn to on my body, I'm calling in Jesus, the master healer, and I'm calling in the nurturing love of Mother Mary and anyone really that I would love present at that time. And it's so relaxing that I very often will fall asleep shortly after drinking water. I actually drink more water than any other type of beverage. It's really important for me. I believe and understand and know how clearing and detoxifying water is to the system. I was actually hanging out with a friend earlier today. I'm often at her house and she watches me just drink water the entire time I'm there. She'll often say, "Oh man, like you're so good at drinking water. I need to drink more water." And at the top of our hangout today, she's there. "I'm reading a new book." "Excellent. What is your book called?" And the book she is reading is Water. You're not sick, you're thirsty. I haven't read it, but it sounds like a fantastic read. And if you ask me, a phenomenal title to have for a book. I love the title of that book. I love the title so much that I might even just separate some time and read the book myself. No question. No advice. This is a real big one. This actually completely bleeds into setting boundaries for myself when it comes to other people. There are some times, like my clairvoyance is flashing back to this morning at the grocery store. My mom went to grab a pre-cut vegetable. And I looked at her and I was like, "Don't do it." Maybe this is like unsolicited advice that's warranted because it will affect me in the long run. One of my mentors, she shared this story where she was in this group of people and they were sitting with a mentor, and her mentor said to them, "For the next week, I only want you to share your advice or your opinion when asked." And at the end of the week, they all gathered again and the mentor asked, "So how often did you share your opinion?" And collectively, the group were astonished because they didn't share as often as they were used to sharing. So often, we're just handing out opinions left, right, and center. I'm in this practice still where I am honestly doing my best to not overshare my opinion, and especially when I am not asked, because I have my whole list of things that I need to work through and lessons that I need to evolve through on a soul level. And I know it's the same for everyone else. So if I'm not asked or if I'm not put in a position where I'm sitting with a client and we're doing a mentoring session, then yeah, I try not to share opinions and answers if I'm not asked to, because, well, it's in good practice. Daydreaming. Daydreaming for me is so important because it really engages my imagination and it helps me co-create all the time with the universe, with God. Looking at where I am, getting very honest and very real with myself, and then questioning where do I want to go? And then what needs to happen in between that. I call them Tony tips. Tony Robbins calls this filling in the gap. Looking at the situation, dreaming up where it is I want to be, and then what I need to do to close the gap. In that, I'm able to write out my actionable steps and take a more logical approach to my dreams and what it is I want to manifest. But of course, also leaving every extra added surprise and greatness to God Himself to just, surprise me a little. I also do my best with trying to keep my languaging around what it is I desire in the present moment. So being there and being that outcome as the days go on. It's kind of like beating time, being in the time continuum. Back to the Future. Great movie. Tuning into my discernment. I really do depend on tuning into my own discernment when it comes to anything. I believe in listening to my heart and allowing for my own heart to do the driving in my life. I just posted a video actually where I talked about discernment and how important it is to tune in and tap into discernment as often as possible, because our discernment is really our own internal compass, the driver taking us where we need to go. And in that video, I'll lightly talk about it here. It doesn't mean that other people's opinions are wrong, good good or bad. It just means that I'm able to discern for myself what feels true and accurate for me and maybe what doesn't. And then I take my day from there. I take conversations from there. I take what I'm learning and digesting from other people from there. I really use that discernment and that inner wisdom as often as possible. It helps me stay connected to myself and to my highest good. Final thoughts. I feel like this video has come to its natural end. I feel like there is nothing more that I am meant to touch on today. There was more that I had planned, but I know that I will speak on those points more in depth in other videos. So make sure that you do subscribe, tune in, click on that bell icon so that you don't miss anything that I upload in the future. And please comment down below if you feel called, because I love connecting with people. I really enjoy speaking with people and hearing thoughts. They are invited. Absolutely. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Until next time, go ahead. You get lost in joy, and remember, you are always connected.